I'm so happy to have this opportunity to show you this wonderful organ we have here at First United Methodist Church of San Diego. You already heard the bells ringing on the hillside there. The congregation used to be downtown San Diego, and when they moved out here to Mission Valley in 1964, they brought those cast iron bells with them, installed them there on the hill. At first they had to be played by a keyboard directly under the tower. So the lady who was the carillonneur had to climb up that hill every Sunday morning to ring the bells. Her husband later on graciously built the steps so she could get up there a bit more easily. Fortunately for me, they are now playable electrically from the console here. There's a knob that says Tower Bells, and all I have to do is sit here, and what you heard a minute ago is what we're doing right now. And I do this before every service, often at the end of weddings as people are going out to their cars and so on. It's a beautiful addition to our campus. So when the congregation moved out here from downtown, I mentioned that they brought those wonderful bells with them. They also brought about 19 ranks from the pipe organ that had been in the old church downtown, built by the Pilcher Organ Company. But because it was a pretty big step for the congregation to build this big sanctuary, they didn't have money to do anything about an organ for a while. Well, the very lady who crawled up the back hill to ring the bells had an electronic organ in her house. Now we're talking the 60s, and at that point the electronic organs were just kind of beginning, so they weren't nearly as good as they are now, but that's what the congregation used. They put the speakers up here beside the altar in front of the big glass window, and they used that for several years until they were able to get enough money. They bought a 3-manual console. These are called manuals, and were able to install some pipes up here in the chancel. Those shelves had been prepared for pipes eventually, and most of the older pipes went in the back in the rear gallery. And then over the period of the next 20 years or so, they kept adding to this instrument. And I do recall when I came to San Diego in 1983, Dan Burton, who was the organist here, invited me to play a recital, so I do remember that organ which preceded this one. This one is about 23 years old and is kind of every organist's dream. It's 108 ranks. About 2/3 of them are installed in the rear gallery back there, and a third of them is up here in the chancel where the choir sings. And you can see that one of the chancel divisions, those pipes that are so visible are part of the pedal division. And you can see up in the corner swell shades, which means the pipes that are enclosed in behind there, you can shut those doors and it makes the music softer. When you see that whole set of pipes like that, we call that a rank. They're pretty much the same shape, just different lengths. And the strange thing about the organ, the pipes themselves generally work like a flute does, where the air passes over that mouth and it gives in vibration, and the tone is determined by the shape of the pipe. Like the diameter, the narrower pipe will be thinner, the fatter will be broader, and the pitch is the length. But each pipe only produces one sound. So in order to have a scale, every single one of these pitches you hear is a different pipe that's cut exactly the right shape and size to produce that sound. So on the organ keyboard, there's 61 notes. So in order to have a complete scale, there have to be 61 pipes. And then if you want a different kind of sound, then you need 61 more. Or every different kind of sound, there has to be one pipe for every note on the keyboard. So that's how it adds up pretty fast. And we have over 6,000 pipes here because we have more than 100 ranks. The console is easy to navigate because when you see the stop, each one of these knobs controls a different set of pipes. So this, for example, those are all different sets of pipes. And you can determine what the organ sounds like, just like an orchestrator chooses whether it's going to be the strings or the woodwinds or the brass that's playing. So you can choose, the organist chooses, or if you want softer, or the trumpet sounds, or you put them all together. So those knobs control the different sets of pipes back there. Now you saw them pop out without me doing anything, didn't you? Look, there they go away, boom, out they come. We have a digital memory system in the organ because with all of these controls here, you can't make rapid changes if you have to reach and push everything on individually. And so we can capture a sound that we want on these buttons that are here. And there, for example, big loud sound, much softer sound. And that way we can make these rapid changes. Those swells up there are controlled by these big pedals down here. And these little silver knobs down here duplicate these thumb pistons so that you can do that with your thumb, or you can do the exact same thing with your foot, depending on how the music is going. And of course, the most unique thing about the organ is the fact that you do play with your feet. And so, say that, or we could make it sound like this. And you put it all together, you have music. Here you can see perfectly the different ranks of pipes. That is, the pipes of similar shape but different lengths, each one producing one pitch in that particular tone color up and down the keyboard. The facade pipes are more the principal sounds, and behind them similar ones you can see. At the top of the pipes, the little tuning sleeves, which go up and down to regulate the tuning. Of course, the mouths across the bottom, and so on. On the back side, you see a series of wooden pipes. I would say anywhere from 10 to 15% of the pipes in the pipe organ are made out of wood. They're more the gentle flute sounds. If you can possibly notice, at the top they're stopped, which means that a pipe will actually produce a pitch twice as low as it would if the top were open. In front of that, you see some pipes with little red felt around them. Those are stopped metal pipes, and the red felt holds the stoppers in place. In front of that, you can see more of the silver tuning sleeves. And I think most interestingly, in front of that, those copper pipes. There's a unique sound in this division. It's called the crumhorn, which is actually a Renaissance reed instrument. It's a kind of a buzzy sound, and the copper gives it a unique and distinct timbre. So it's not just the length, but the shape and even the material that the pipes are made of that affects the sound. We're standing here under the rank of our horizontal trumpets called the herald trumpets. You notice they're also made out of copper, and when the choir stands back here to sing the introit, we've got to be sure nobody's too tall trying to stand under them. So here you can see the tuning wire, the trumpet. This goes back in. There's a curved piece of metal that is pressed against an open resonating mouthpiece, and as you move that tuning wire up and down, it puts the pipe in and out of tune. So these are tuned differently than the ones that have the tuning sleeves on top. One of the most dramatic things about the organ is extreme range of pitches, from very, very, very high, almost beyond the threshold of hearing. We say these pipes are smaller than a very badly worn pencil, to the huge pipes that have a speaking length of 32 feet with the foot on them. You know, they're going to be 38 feet long. Now that's longer than 10 yards on a football field, if you put it in that perspective, and it goes like this. You say, who would ever want that kind of sound? Well, let me tell you, listen to this. We also have some pretty glorious trumpets on this instrument. You've seen, or you will see, the horizontal trumpets that are mounted in the back. And then these are not visible, but they're our newest edition, the festival trumpets. There's nothing quite like a bride. Iconic organ piece, everybody's favorite organ piece, is Bach's famous toccata in D minor. You'll be able to see all of this coming into play, including very early on, almost the lowest sound the organ is capable of. So, fasten your seatbelts and here we go. the organ has got to be one of the most fun things a person can do. I've often wondered what it is that causes a particular person to be attracted to a particular musical instrument, why one person is drawn to the violin and somebody else to the trumpet. All I know is that when I first heard a pipe organ, it wasn't even a pipe organ, it was a little reed organ. When I was a small child, I just knew I had to learn how to play it. Fortunately, I had a good piano foundation, was able to get some lessons from the lady who played in our church. And when I was 13, I had my first job playing every Sunday in a church in the small town in which I lived. And here I am many years later, still doing it and still loving every minute of it.